The moon hung enormous above the Silver Ridge territory, glowing like molten silver poured across the sky. Its light spilled over the ancient forest, through towering pines and across the wide clearing where hundreds of wolves had gathered. Tonight was the choosing, a ceremony older than any Alpha alive. The night when Alpha King Darius Blackthorn would choose his Luna. Torches surrounded the ceremonial grounds, their flames flickering wildly in the cool mountain wind. The scent of pine, smoke, and wolves filled the air. Every pack within 3 territories had come, Alphas. Betas, warriors, Omegas, and among them stood Lyra Vale. She kept to the edge of the crowd, her cloak pulled tightly around her shoulders. The silver moonlight turned her dark hair into a soft halo as the wind moved through it. No one noticed her. No one ever did. To the pack, she was simply an Omega, quiet, invisible. But Lyra's heart was pounding so loudly, she was certain the wolves nearby could hear it. Because tonight, everything could change, or everything could break. The Alpha King, a deep horn echoed across the clearing. The crowd instantly fell silent. From the massive stone steps leading to the Alpha Hall, Darius Blackthorn appeared. Gasps rippled through the wolves. Even after years of ruling, the Alpha King's presence still commanded awe. He was tall, easily the tallest male in the clearing. Broad shoulders strained against his dark ceremonial coat, and his black hair fell slightly across piercing silver eyes. Eyes that glowed faintly with the power of his wolf, the strongest wolf anyone had seen in generations. His presence alone made weaker wolves instinctively lower their gaze. Lyra did too, but not before her heart twisted painfully. Because those eyes, they had once looked at her differently. A secret past 2 years ago, Lyra had been nothing more than a healer's apprentice. She lived in the small medical lodge near the river, tending herbs and bandages. One stormy night, a badly injured wolf had stumbled into the lodge. Covered in blood, barely conscious, she had treated him all night without knowing who he was, cleaned his wounds, sat beside him until dawn, talked softly while he slept. When he finally woke, those silver eyes had studied her with something strange. Something intense. "Who are you?" he had asked Lyra. She'd replied softly. He had watched her for a long time. Then he'd said something that made her chest warm even now. "Your sentence coming." But the next morning he was gone. And later she learned the truth. The wounded wolf she had saved was the Alpha King himself. After that night, he never returned. And Lyra told herself it meant nothing, until tonight. The ceremony begins. Alpha Darius stepped forward onto the stone platform. The ancient Alpha Elder stood beside him holding the ceremonial staff. Tonight, the Elder announced loudly, the Alpha King chooses the Luna who will rule beside him. Excitement buzzed through the crowd. Many she-wolves stood proudly near the front, daughters of powerful Alphas. Beautiful, strong, perfect future queens, Lyra shrank further into the shadows. She didn't belong here. She had only come because her friend Mira had dragged her along. "Just watch," Mira whispered beside her. "You never know what fate has planned." Lyra forced a small smile, but deep down she already knew the truth. Fate didn't choose Omegas. The woman he chose, Alpha Darius's gaze, moved slowly across the crowd. Every she-wolf held their breath. Then his eyes stopped on Selene Ashcroft, the daughter of the powerful Ashcroft pack, tall, elegant, golden hair glowing in the moonlight, perfect, the kind of Luna everyone expected. Darius stepped forward and extended his hand. "I choose Selene Ashcroft." The crowd erupted in cheers. Selene smiled gracefully and stepped onto the platform. The elder raised his staff. Then under the moon's witness, Selene Ashcroft shall. A strange sound cut through the ceremony. A low, dangerous growl. The entire clearing froze, because it came from the Alpha King. The wolf's reaction, Darius suddenly stiffened. His jaw clenched, his breathing became uneven. Something was wrong, very wrong. Inside his mind, his wolf was thrashing violently. "Not her," the voice roared, "not her." Darius gritted his teeth. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he muttered internally. But his wolf was going wild, pacing, snarling, furious, and then a scent drifted across the clearing. Soft, familiar, calming, the scent of rain, lavender, and something uniquely hers. Darius's head snapped toward the back of the crowd. His eyes locked on Lyra, standing quietly in the shadows. The moment he saw her, his wolf exploded inside him. Mate, the word slammed through his mind like thunder. Mate, mate, mate. Darius's entire body froze. No, impossible. His mate was an Omega. The moment she turned away, Lyra saw the moment he noticed her. Saw the confusion flash in his eyes. Then embarrassment burned in her chest. Of course he was staring. An Omega standing at the Luna ceremony. How pathetic. She lowered her gaze and stepped backward. I should go, she whispered to Mira. Before anyone could stop her, she turned and walked away from the clearing, into the forest, into the darkness. And the moment she did, Darius's wolf went completely insane. The Alpha King suddenly roared. A roar so powerful it shook the trees. Stop her! The crowd gasped. Seleni's smile vanished, but Darius was no longer looking at the woman he had just chosen. His glowing silver eyes were locked on the forest path where Lyra had disappeared. His chest rose and fell wildly. His wolf clawing to break free, because his mate was leaving, and every instinct in his body screamed the same thing. The forest swallowed Lyra the moment she left the ceremonial clearing. Branches brushed against her cloak as she hurried down the narrow trail leading away from Silver Ridge. The moonlight filtered through the towering pine trees, turning the ground into shifting patterns of silver and shadow. Behind her, the distant noise of the ceremony faded. Good. She didn't want to hear the cheers when the Alpha King crowned his Luna. Her chest tightened painfully. Why does it hurt so much? She already knew the answer, even if she had never admitted it aloud. For 2 years, a small, foolish part of her heart had held onto that stormy night in the healer's lodge. The way the wounded stranger had looked at her, the warmth in his voice, the strange calm she felt around him. But tonight she had seen the truth. He belonged with someone like Selene, not her, never her. Lyra wiped quickly at her eyes and continued deeper into the forest. She didn't notice the wind shifting behind her, carrying her scent straight back to the clearing. The Alpha King's rage back at the ceremonial grounds. Chaos had erupted. Darius Blackthorn stood frozen on the stone platform, every muscle in his body tense. Selene Ashcroft stared at him in confusion. Alpha, what is happening? But Darius barely heard her. Inside his mind, his wolf was howling uncontrollably. Mate, mate, mate. The word echoed again and again like a war drum. His chest burned. His instincts screamed. Every primal part of him demanded the same thing. Find her. Darius clenched his fists so tightly, his claws nearly tore through his skin. This can't be real. He growled under his breath. An Omega, his mate, impossible. Yet the moment she turned away, it felt like someone had ripped something out of his chest. His wolf snarled furiously. You let her leave. I didn't even know she was my mate. You should have. The wolf's anger shook his entire body. Bring her back. Darius finally moved. His voice thundered across the clearing. Warriors, immediately dozens of elite wolves stepped forward. The beta Kale Stormfang approached him quickly. What's wrong? Darius's silver eyes glowed intensely as he looked toward the forest. A she-wolf just left the territory. Kale frowned. So, Darius's voice dropped into a deadly whisper. She's mine. Kale blinked in surprise. Your mate. The Alpha King didn't answer. He simply gave the command, hunt her. Selene's fury, the crowd murmured in shock. Selene's elegant composure finally cracked. Alpha Darius, she said sharply, stepping closer. You just chose me as Luna. Darius didn't even look at her. His attention was locked on the dark forest. Selene's nails dug into her palms. Are you truly abandoning the ceremony for some random wolf? Still no answer. That silence humiliated her more than anything. The daughter of the Ashcroft pack was not used to being ignored. Her eyes narrowed coldly. Who is she? Kale answered quietly. An Omega. Selene laughed bitterly. An Omega, she repeated, but inside her chest, jealousy burned like poison. The warriors moved within minutes. The hunt had begun. Dozens of Silver Ridge warriors shifted into their massive wolves and raced into the forest. Kale remained beside Darius. "You're shaking," the beta noted. Darius exhaled sharply. "I can't feel her." Kale looked confused. "You just discovered the bond, it's normal." But Darius shook his head, knows something strange. When a wolf finds their mate, the bond should feel like a glowing thread connecting their souls. But with Lyra, the connection flickered, weak, unstable, as if something was blocking it, and that made his wolf even more furious. Alone in the forest, Lyra finally slowed when the sounds of the ceremony disappeared completely. She leaned against a large oak tree, catching her breath. The forest felt peaceful, quiet, only the wind moving through the leaves and distant night birds calling. She closed her eyes. "Maybe I'll leave Silver Ridge," she whispered softly, "start somewhere new, a place where no one knew she was the pack's invisible Omega." But then a distant howl echoed through the trees. Lyra's eyes snapped open. Another howl followed. Then another. Her heart dropped. Those weren't ordinary wolves. Those were Silver Ridge warriors, and they were spreading out. Searching, but why? Confusion twisted in her chest until a terrifying thought formed. Are they hunting me? Her pulse quickened. That made no sense. Yet instinct screamed that she needed to run. Lyra pushed away from the tree and began moving deeper into the forest. But the moment she stepped forward, a strange warmth spread through her chest, like something inside her had suddenly awakened. Her wolf stirred restlessly, and for the first time in her life it whispered, "He found us." Lyra froze. Because until tonight her wolf had never spoken before. The alpha approaches miles away. Darius suddenly stopped in the middle of the forest. His head lifted sharply. His wolf growled softly, "There." Darius's eyes widened. He could feel it now. Faint, but real. The bond. His mate was close. Without warning, the Alpha King shifted. Bones cracked. Muscles expanded. Moments later, a massive black wolf landed on the forest floor, larger than any wolf in Silver Ridge. His glowing silver eyes locked onto the scent trail. Then he ran, faster than the wind, faster than the warriors. Because nothing on earth was going to reach his mate before he did. The trapped Lyra burst into a small clearing, breathing heavily. The howls were getting closer, too close. Panic tightened her chest. "I didn't do anything," she whispered. Why were they chasing her? Suddenly, a massive shadow landed in front of her. Lyra gasped and stumbled backward. A giant black wolf stood between her and the path. Its silver eyes glowed intensely in the moonlight. Recognition hit her instantly. Alpha. The wolf slowly stepped forward. Power rolled off him like a storm. And inside his mind, Darius's wolf roared with savage relief, "Mate," but Lyra didn't step closer. Instead, she took another step back, fear flickering in her eyes, and that single movement made the Alpha King's wolf growl dangerously. Because his mate was afraid of him, the forest clearing fell completely silent. Only the wind whispered through the tall pines, rustling the branches above. Lyra stood frozen. Across from her, the enormous black wolf slowly stepped closer. Its silver eyes glowed like molten metal in the moonlight. She recognized those eyes instantly. "Alpha Darius," she whispered. The wolf's ears twitched at the sound of his name. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then the massive wolf began to shift. Bones cracked sharply in the quiet forest. Fur melted back into skin. Muscles twisted and reformed. Seconds later, Darius Blackthorn stood before her. Barefoot in the cold grass, his powerful chest rising and falling with controlled breaths. His silver eyes never left her. Lyra lowered her gaze immediately. Respect, submission. Everything an Omega was taught to show an Alpha. But inside Darius's mind, his wolf growled in frustration. Why is she bowing? Because she didn't know. Didn't understand that she was the one person in the world who never had to bow to him again. The word that changed everything, "Look at me." His voice was deep. Commanding, Lyra slowly lifted her eyes. The moment their gazes met, something electric shot through both of them. The mate bond now fully awake. Lyra gasped softly. Her hand instinctively pressed against her chest. What is that?" Darius stepped closer. Only a few feet separated them now. He could smell her clearly. Lavender, rain, and something intoxicating that belonged only to her. His wolf practically purred, "Mate." Darius swallowed slowly. "Lyra," he said quietly, "do you feel it?" Her breathing became uneven. Yes, the warmth in her chest had grown stronger, almost overwhelming, like an invisible thread pulling her toward him. Confusion filled her eyes. "What is happening to me?" Darius's jaw tightened. Then he finally said the words, "You're my mate?" The impossible truth. Lyra blinked, then shook her head slowly. "No," Darius frowned. "No, that's not possible." Her voice trembled slightly. "You chose Selene as Luna." Guilt flickered briefly across his face. "That ceremony is over, but you chose her." Lyra took another small step back. The movement instantly irritated his wolf. "Stop," letting her move away. But Darius forced himself to stay calm. "I didn't know about you." Lyra laughed quietly. But there was no happiness in the sound. "Of course you didn't," she said softly. "Why would the Alpha King ever notice an Omega?" Her words hit harder than she probably intended. Because the truth in them stung. Darius had ruled over thousands of wolves, yet somehow he had overlooked the one person meant to stand beside him. The Alpha's instinct. Darius stepped forward again. Now only a breath separated them. Lyra could feel the heat radiating from his body. Her wolf stirred nervously inside her. "He's too strong, too dominant," but another voice whispered softly. "He's ours." Darius reached out slowly. His fingers gently wrapped around her wrist. The moment their skin touched, a powerful surge of energy exploded through the bond. Both of them inhaled sharply. Lyra's knees almost buckled. "What was that?" she gasped, the bond strengthening. Darius answered quietly. He watched her closely. "You've never felt your wolf this strongly before, have you?" Lyra hesitated, then shook her head. "My wolf barely speaks." Darius's eyes narrowed slightly. That was strange, very strange. Because the mate of an Alpha King should have an incredibly powerful wolf. Yet Lyra felt muted, as if something inside her was asleep. Danger in the shadows. Neither of them noticed the wolves watching from the darkness. 3 figures crouched silently behind the trees at the edge of the clearing. Warriors, but not from Darius's patrol. These wolves served Selene Ashcroft. She had sent them with one quiet command: remove the Omega. Because if the Alpha King's true mate disappeared, the Luna position would still belong to her. One of the wolves whispered quietly, "That's her." The largest of them nodded. "Kill her quickly." They began shifting. Fur rippling across their skin, claws extending. 3 massive wolves emerged silently from the shadows. And then they attacked. The ambushed Lyra heard the growl first. Her head snapped toward the trees. Alpha, too late. The first wolf launched itself from the darkness. Darius reacted instantly. His body shifted mid-motion, bones snapping as his massive black wolf exploded into existence. The attacking wolf crashed into him. Both beasts rolled violently across the clearing. A second wolf lunged toward Lyra. She froze in terror. But suddenly, something inside her snapped. A strange power surged through her chest. Her wolf roared. Not softly, not timidly, but with a voice that shook the air. Silver light burst from Lyra's body. The attacking wolf skidded to a sudden halt, whimpering, backing away in fear, because the aura radiating from the small Omega was suddenly ancient, powerful, royal. Even Darius paused mid-fight. His wolf's head snapped toward Lyra. Shock filled his glowing eyes. Because the energy surrounding her felt older than any Alpha bloodline, older than the packs themselves. Lyra stared down at her hands in confusion. "What is happening to me?" The last attacking wolf whimpered again, then turned and ran. The other 2 quickly followed, disappearing into the forest. Silence returned to the clearing. But nothing felt the same anymore. Darius slowly shifted back into human form. His gaze locked onto Lyra with intense focus. Because the Omega standing before him was clearly not just an Omega, and suddenly one terrifying thought crossed his mind. What if my mate is something far more dangerous than anyone realizes?